Hey, WokeNFree Nation, Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice.
For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening.
You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science to Bitcoin, or even one of your favorite celebrities. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud.
And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, WokeNFree, is there too.
Now let's get into the episode. Hi, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 289th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week we're asking the question, what is critical race theory about? So if that is something of interest for you, then this is the episode for you to listen to and replay and share. Now, before you continue on with the main attraction, a couple of things to cover. Have you gone to WokeNFree.com not just to listen to this episode, but to download it through the Podbean app? If you haven't done that already, please do that immediately, because if you get the app, then you can put in your comments. And this is really a critical episode for you to share your thoughts, especially since if you're like us, you've seen people and legislators and a lot of news around critical race theory. So lots to talk about, lots to share. We want to hear where you sit on the matter. Now, if you listen to podcasts on a device where you can't put another app on whatever that device is, that would be quite unfortunate, but no fret. You still can support WokeNFree by going to WokeNFree.com, going on the Listen tab, and then picking your platform of choice where you're going to listen to the show and subscribe to the show. So you can find us on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. It's a WokeNFree world where most podcasts are listened to. You'll find WokeNFree there. So lots of places to support us. Of course, on WokeNFree.com, you can click to subscribe to follow the show through the Podbean app. And on social, you'll easily find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at WokeNFree. And if you have 30 seconds, which is more of a statement, less of a question, please go to WokeNFree.com, go on the Listen tab, and then pick your platform of choice where you'd like to review the show. So we thank you in advance for those 5-star review ratings. Wow. Yes.
High.
Kicking it to you.
All right, I'll take it, and I'll take the 5 stars too.
Yes.
But before we start the conversation, let's do what we usually do and share a little bit about ourselves. This week we're asking, would you rather get rid of pesticides or growth hormones in food?
Oh, that's interesting. I would say, so if you get rid of pesticides, then you're going to lose more crops to insects eat, or pests eating through the foods and stuff like that. But then the growth hormones, those are sometimes, or there's theories, I guess is what I would say. Nothing's matter of fact other than death. That there is potential links between growth hormones in our foods and us humans feeling the impact of that. So whether that increases chances of cancer or, any connection to
makes you 7 feet tall.
For exactly how our own growth gets impacted. I would say, I think the growth hormones is something that would be kind of helpful to take out of our foods. That way we reduce chances of us having growth issues or having biological issues within us as humans, because you are what you consume in every aspect of that phrase. So there you go.
Wow, you could get rid of the growth hormones, but then how we become 7'6" kind of thing.
So maybe we don't need to be 7'6".
See, that's
a possibility.
Yeah, you're taking that away. Yeah. All right. I mean, if I had to choose one of them, I would definitely choose the pesticides, because the pesticides, just think of it, that's meant to destroy like living organisms.
Yeah.
So you're putting that inside your body. It's not really good. The growth hormones, at least you're going the right way. I mean, you're growing. You're trying to have things like prosper, but pesticides is opposite. It's trying to kill.
But there
and
are some
pesticides. But pesticides are really bad.
And,
That's why they even created organic. Organic doesn't use pesticides.
But you have to think about, like with cancer, right? Cancer is uncontrolled cell growth.
Yeah.
So you have to wonder if we continue to have foods with growth hormones. Growth hormones means it's accelerated growth.
But you can cure cancer eventually, right? Compared to pesticides,
not all cancers,
there's nothing.
right?
The pesticides, you're just putting toxic in your body. The growth hormones, just making things grow fast.
The question's between a rock and a hard place. I mean, they're both really.
I mean,
I take
the growth hormone because if let's say it does, I mean, I don't know if I don't know
cancer.
there's a direct link to that.
I know that sometimes there's postulation around that, right? Because you think again, it's accelerated growth.
It could, but I bet you if we didn't have growth hormones in food, there'd still be cancer today.
Yes, well, cancer is very easy to have, right? Because again,
so it's kind of like you could get rid of that, but I don't. It's almost like you may not eradicate. You might not see any. You might not even see a difference compared to the pesticides. I mean,
you could see a reduction in health issues from that as well.
I think you could see a reduction in health issues, and you're right though. You will have it's a lot more expensive to grow organic crops or even crops not organic without the pesticides because you're going to lose a lot of it to the pests. So, I mean, that's not even a theory. That is what it is.
A reality.
That's a reality. But the thing we're talking about is actually a theory. So what are we talking about? We're going to postulate or discuss what is critical race theory all about.
All right. So that's nice and sloppy as per
No, but I said theory, so there was a connection.
According to the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Inc., they have defined the following. Critical race theory was first developed by legal scholars in the 1970s and 80s following the Civil Rights Movement. It was in part a response to the notion that society and institutions were colorblind. CRT, critical race theory, holds that racism was not and has never been eradicated from our laws, policies, or institutions, and is still woven into the fabric of their existence. Now, if you continue on with the article, and you can find all of our links at WokeNFree.com, CRT, or critical race theory, is an academic and legal framework that denotes again, that systematic racism is a part of American society, from an education to our housing to employment and healthcare. Essentially, every aspect of our American society, you can have embedded issues of systemic racism. And it recognizes that it's more than just the result of individual bias and prejudice, but it is baked into our laws, our policies, institutions that uphold and reproduce racial inequalities. And according to the theory, societal issues like Black Americans have higher mortality rates, outsized exposure to police violence, the school to prison pipeline, denial of affordable housing, and rates of death of Black women in childbirth are not unrelated anomalies, but essentially systematic or systemic of what this critical race theory is all about.
Wow. Okay.
Nothing particularly shocking there, but again, as Black people, I think.
Well, of course, we're going to be more
in touch
this is
with
stuff that we've heard before, but I don't think everybody thinks about these kind of things, especially if it's not affecting them, right?
Facts.
They're not like, oh man, what's happening to that minority group? I don't think they're doing that. That's the thing. And Britannica, they even have their own definition for critical race theory. They define it as intellectual and social movement that's loosely organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural, biologically grounded feature of physically distinct subgroups of human beings, but a socially constructed or culturally invented category that is used to oppress and exploit people of color. Critical race theorists hold that racism is inherent in the law and legal institutions of the United States, insofar as they function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially African Americans. Critical race theorists are generally dedicated to applying their understanding of the institutional or structural nature of racism to the concrete distant goal of eliminating all race-based and other unjust hierarchies. So I didn't know that part of critical race theory, it has the goal of actually eliminating the racism. I didn't know that was even, like, I wasn't sure of what critical race theory really encompassed. I mean, it's never been kind of like put out there as you may have described. I've not seen that in the news.
Well, I think it's something that you have to look into.
It's just always critical race theory.
Yeah, just that phrasing and then kind of, institutions trying to ban the learnings of it, the teachings of it. That's all that seems to be the headlines and the headlines.
It's like we don't have real journalism today because on any of these news networks, they could have just gone into, just give us a blurb of what is critical race theory. I've never seen that.
Well, I think if you
they
go
just say
into
critical
it,
race theory, ban.
By default, that it may be
and that's on both sides.
In breaking, because if you describe it as we just described it, right, as shared, it forces people to challenge their realities in a way they may not be willing to challenge or not beneficial to challenge, right? So I think that even of itself is,
because I would think that one side would decide like, hey, we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to say what it is. Don't say if you agree with it or not. The system is defined by definition, is defined and created against a group of people. Yeah. That in and of itself could be mind blowing for people who are part of that community that designed that, right? It's funny to think that. So the only thing I could say is, like, let's say I'm coming from their thought process. It shouldn't be mind blowing because what happened, hundreds of years ago with slavery, we already knew.
Remember, there's now a growth. There's like a perspective of folks who are now like quote unquote colorblind, right? Like where they like to say, some folks like to say they don't like to see color. They don't believe in racism. They believe that everyone has equal opportunity. They try to essentially like put it, and it's like as if it's something that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, it's a structure that was created by their ancestors. So I don't know if you can just say it's gone.
Deny it, yeah.
But like, that's funny to have a mind blown by that. Like, the mind blown doesn't make sense to me. I understand to say it doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because what people wanted to do is, once we had Obama as president, now we're in post-racist.
Yeah, that's
America.
what a lot of people like to declare. Like, he is.
That's all we needed.
The linchpin of saying, racism got.
Not that he made a lot of anti-racism laws or anything, or like signed bills.
But it's
they just said literally just seeing him. Okay, then everything is good now.
Very challenging to think how one human being could eradicate a systemic breakdown.
It's possible for it to happen, but you'd have to be a dictator.
I mean, exactly. Like, and that's not what he was. So.
And even if he tried, Congress would get mad at him, right? If he just wrote a lot of executive orders, he said, "Pay up the black people."
Was deeply meaningful, and I'm so grateful for it. But it did not erase racism. Yeah. Like, it still is very much in play.
Yeah, of course. Why do you think lawmakers are intentionally trying to prevent critical race theory being taught in schools?
So the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Inc. shared the following that I think is meaningful to answer that question.
Oh, okay.
Lawmakers and proponents of the bans insist that they are advocating for balance and patriarch education. However, these bans do the exact opposite. They deny the truth about our nation's history, silence dissent, and punish those who speak the truth to counter whitewash falsehoods. And bans on critical race theory are bans on truth and history. Critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 schools. These laws seek to ban the teaching of a true American history and all of its racist elements. These laws ban virtually any discussions about how racism has shaped our nation's policies and history, from education and housing to employment and healthcare. And unfortunately, these laws are blanket bans on racial discourse and attempt to deny our nation's shameful legacy of racial oppression. These bans are attacks on free speech that silence those who speak the truth about our nation's history. So essentially, it's the lawmakers, to answer your question, they're trying to prevent it because one could argue that maybe they view, they don't want to have the history of the United States laws and cultural mishaps maybe brought forth to the front, or maybe folks feel like the accountability has already been met, and so why are we going back in the past? And also saying that like, I guess folks of color or people who understandably see the racism that has happened say, hey, there's more than that one perspective, even though that one perspective isn't just from the past, but it continues to perpetuate our present. And so it can be challenging and to say, no, let's look at it differently, or let's not talk about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've actually, just from watching media programming and seeing discussions from the left and right, there's two things that I've taken that are reasons that this has become a hot topic, really, and that lawmakers are even interested in it. They don't really care about the critical race theory itself. That's not really a thing. I just think it's being used as a tool for the lawmakers to, like, rally their base, because the right, a lot of them are now, they're enveloped in these culture wars against the liberal people trying to bring equality basically to everything. And the right's like, nah, let's just keep it old. Let's keep everything how it is because we're cool with how it is. Don't make some noise. Okay. So what these lawmakers are doing is, when you hear that word critical race theory, what they're kind of saying, oh, you know what that's doing? That just teaching anything about race is going to make one race feel inferior to the other, or it's going to make one race feel bad about what they did to another. Like, I heard that as an argument, and we don't want our kids feeling bad about, about themselves just because of this theory around. But they don't really care about the kids. They just want to get people to vote for them next time or actually, I mean, to be more specific, like the governor in Florida, he may be making a presidential run. So he wants to have these people in his pocket that say, hey, we're going to back you on your presidential run. If he does do it, it's the people aren't sure if he's really going to go through with it. So I think
the one who banned it in schools and high schools, right?
Yeah, DeSantis. Yeah. People definitely don't like the guy. He banned books too. But it's interesting because They propose that critical race theory is being taught in K through 12, but technically it's not being taught. It's not literally being taught like that, because that's like saying, I mean, I don't know, like a college level, I don't know, like a very specialized college level course is being taught in K through 12.
I know in our educational experience that was not taught to me. The flat out theory that
I've never even heard of that. Or even
statement that.
But you know what people are saying though is that maybe it's not called critical race theory, but the elements of it are being taught. So that's why people are in arms.
I don't recall that being accountability of actually
saying
America
systemic. I've never heard that one time in school.
Designed against the protection or support of Black people. No, I've never had that been taught.
I've never seen that in an educational setting. So, but I mean,
heard that through Black.
There's these people who claim they're like
outside of the educational system.
There's people that make the claim that the data might not be there, but if you trust me, I know that it's being taught. Like, there's no actual proof. I remember learning about World War I and World War II and all global history, but I do not recall learning about accountability to that degree when it comes to what our ancestors went through, what current day systems are actually literally tied to the inequities that are designed against us. Like, that is not... I mean, I don't even think... maybe you were taught it, but I wasn't even taught about redlining in school.
No, I wasn't taught that at all.
I
learned about that in college,
Yeah, so they're saying K through 12. I didn't learn anything. The only thing I learned that even regarded race was that there was slavery in America. Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, you learned about
they didn't dive into and say what happened afterwards. And then I did hear about Jim Crow laws like that.
Correct, yes.
That definitely was talked about. They couldn't get around that. And then there was the Civil Rights Act, and that I learned that.
And violence against people who protested. Yes, that I learned about.
Yeah, we learned about some of the history,
but
I don't think
is there a point to say that if there are white and brown, black and brown children in the classroom, and if you teach critical race theory, are the, say, white children going to feel
they're going to feel bad because their ancestors
that you're saying that essentially a system designed for their successes for the decimation of others.
Basically,
yeah, that would make somebody feel a certain kind of way.
See?
But however, it's about framing it, right? It's about a system designed for the success of some groups and the attack of others. is not saying that you sitting in this classroom have designed that system. You're actually a pawn, a part of the system like everybody else, except you get to move forward in the board,
but doesn't
and
it make
we get to get kicked off the board.
But doesn't it make you seem like, I mean, even your successes aren't as strong as they really are? Because it's like you had help compared to other people's success.
But that's the reality of life. Everyone has a form of privilege in our society.
Truth hurts, is what I say, right?
Yeah, but we have to understand, like, there's privilege being black, there's privilege being a woman, there's privilege being male. There's every type of identifier can offer a form of privilege against someone else. Yeah. So we can't say, based on teaching this, that it diminishes a white accomplishment in any way. It's more so saying you guys should acknowledge your privilege and your opportunity within our American society, and then leverage such privilege for those who are unprivileged. Though, you know, it's an opportunity to practice allyship. That's really the dotted line that needs to be drawn. So it doesn't have to
diminish the person's
No, I think you should acknowledge the fact that, hey, like, if you happen to have been born white or born privileged, good for you. You have opportunity, but please use that opportunity for yourself and others. That's really the critical thing here. Not just like me, or no, I'm not privileged. That's a lie. Everyone's privileged.
Yeah, everybody has some sort of privilege. Yeah, that's the first thing.
Use your privilege. Let's not the same thing as we can't climate deniers. Like, you can't deny what's happening in your face. But
they can deny because they're saying it's cold. They're in Alaska. There's no global warming to them.
It's just, I can't with the foolishness.
Yeah, because they look at their current weather. They don't look at
the ice caps are melting. Get a grip. Like,
yeah, they're saying, but the Earth heats and cools, and it goes through periods of.
I cannot with the foolishness.
But yeah, I mean, they don't use the real data. They just kind of look at
the
random.
Earth is changing. Weather patterns are actually changing in ways that have. I mean, come on.
But climate deniers aren't the worst people. It's the flat earthers. They're the worst.
Well, I'm not speaking to that statement, but what I am saying is my next question, which is, what do you think folks now, if this is the first time they're hearing about critical race theory, what do you think folks need to understand or know about this?
I think there's these keywords that an article on Sutherland Institute.org, it stated, and it actually just looked at some critical race theorists, and I think these main talking points are things that people should try to understand and maybe even research on their own, because it's pretty
profound.
It's not profound to us. Like, we've heard of all this stuff, but for anybody that's just new to racism and it doesn't affect them, at least not in their face.
I love that phrase, new to racism.
Yeah. You're just walking into it.
Yeah, have you been living
you have to, though.
Like a bunker?
No, but just imagine if you're a child, you got to be introduced to what race is, because it's not even a real thing. So, it's got to be shown to you.
Ruining childhood, yes. Come here,
welcome.
Little Johnny.
Come and sit on the lap.
Let's learn about what this life is really about.
You get to hear you get to hear about
joys.
You got to, it's an unfortunate
fun time.
It's an unfortunate human created thing. It's just nuts, but that's it is what it is, right? That's what it is right now. But remember, critical race theory the goal is to eliminate it eventually, right?
Of course. Why are we playing these games?
That's what I like that idea. Games. I mean, that's interesting to me. So the first thing is that race is a social construct, right? And I know people don't know that. Yeah, people don't realize race is a social construct. I'll say that again. It is not something that is
real.
It's
not tangible.
Yeah, it's not,
Rocks are tangible, race is not.
Yeah, it's technically, it's like, borderlines. That's actual social construct too.
Of course.
These borders that we make for countries, all that is social constructs.
Well, they're made by human beings, right?
Yeah,
let's not forget the society we're living in.
Yeah, but it's not something that aliens could notice on their own with not being.
Of course not. No,
we'd have to tell them.
That would be foolishness.
They would look and say, "You're just all humans. What are you talking about?
Foolishness, yes.
You're just the same.
Just come in different hues. Good for you.
Nothing
special. Get into your pod and get ordered.
And I mean, race it's not even so like whatchamacallit. It's not so structured that it's easy to really tell. I mean, people can Yeah, you can technically choose your race, on the census. You get to check your race.
As you identify.
It's not.
Well, it's an identifier.
You choose what the race is. You actually do. Not that people will let you get away with what you choose.
Of course.
And people are going to box you into whatever race they want to box you into.
Whatever you physically present as.
Yeah, so people
will define your race to you.
So it's kind of like you could define the race for you, but someone else, the society will define it for you as well.
It's also like, again, right, we have a lot of mixed race people.
And then that throws the wrench in this. See, the race system was not designed with mixed races. Yeah, that was not even thought as a possibility.
Because it blurs lines, that's why.
Yep. The second point is that structural or institutional racism, it actually,
it's a real thing.
See, it did, let me back up. This didn't say that. This is just a talking point that critical race theorists bring up. Like, just to note, the source that I went to, it's neutral. It's not trying to say critical race theories are correct or this is what it is. It's not advocate and it's not a denier. It was just stating this is just a summary of points. So structural or institutional racism, and we've talked about some of the issues like redlining. That could be a structural or institutional thing.
Banks not giving loans to homeowners who are black, things like that. Yeah.
And the next thing is implicit bias, which is the opposite of explicit bias that you can outwardly see. It's things that people do without even thinking about it. Yeah. It's like underneath the table racism.
Yes.
So here's the funny thing though. Then we get to microaggressions. So is a microaggression
subtle.
How is that different from implicit bias? Is an interesting thing.
Bias is your ideology that you frame around whatever knowledge or stereotypes you're thinking about, versus microaggression is an action based on such
action
bias,
oriented.
Right? So
all right,
because macroaggressions are the overt, calling you the N-word, trying to light you on fire. Microaggressions are the subtle things that you do where it's like, oh, so why did you get this job? Right? In a way that's like, because you said that to the person of color, or you said that to the woman, right?
The one person of color on the team, and you say that too?
There's a bunch of people who get scholarships, and then someone says, oh, so you got the scholarship for being the minority, right? Like, it's that type of like subtle, where you're not outwardly calling you an N-word or trying to light you on fire, but it's still just as...
Wouldn't that last one be a little more than micro, though, to say, because you're a minority, you got ahead of me?
Well, that would be,
isn't that a little more...
That would be it'd be closer towards the macroaggression at that point.
To say that, if you mention anything with color in it or race...
So it's supposed to be subtle, it's supposed to be... inciting, but not to the point where if you aren't thinking about it, people let them go.
What if someone always says "What up, dog" to the person of color, and then everybody else they're like, "Hello, Johnny."
Yeah, exactly. That would be the microaggression.
Are you having a great day?
Like, we have lunch, and then you ask the person of color, "Would you like fried chicken and watermelon?" Like, which is not funny.
That's a microaggression. Then asking
yeah.
That's not all right. No, but because now it's like, I don't know. It's deciding what's a microaggression versus just that's flat out racist.
Is it like the person's using that?
Because technically, and
then acting upon that.
Because anybody eats watermelon fried chicken. It's good food. Right? I know it's used as a thing, but come on.
Facts.
Now, if you said chitlins, then I'd say, hey, you got some problems there. Like, that's messed up. Not everybody eats chitlins. That's what's funny. Like, some of the things that I think would be more racist is if you did that. I know. I know. They say that. But it's crazy because literally chitlin is something that only people from our community were eating. I mean, okay, there's some southern or white people that were eating it, but that's a big black thing. Chitlins,
of course.
But that's not used as like a racist symbol. It's kind of interesting that certain things have popped up as like that's racist, even though it's like everybody loves that stuff.
If you're talking to coworkers and you're talking about music, and someone automatically is like, "Oh, so you're into DMX, right?" And you're like, microaggression, because why are you assuming, right, that I like rap because I happen to be black, even though the number one consumer of rap continues to be white males.
Yeah,
right? Like,
that's what's interesting. Yeah, to make the assumption, you're actually you're making some issues there.
Wrong assumption.
Yeah, so that's something to think about. The next talking point is white privilege. So yeah, we've gone over that everybody's privileged, and
but
there's a white privilege as well.
There are privileges for the white community.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you know, I don't think everybody would agree with this point. Even
that everyone's privileged.
No, that there's something called white privilege.
Oh,
you know that. There's a ton of people that wouldn't agree with it. I think, is it called white fragility? That might speak to that. But yeah. That's why. Yeah, because right now they're saying there's a war against white people, so there is no privilege. Now we're just being attacked.
So again,
there's some people that feel that.
I hope that people really lean into the understanding of privilege from the perspective that everyone is privileged and that there are certain privileges that attach to certain communities, right? So certain privileges that women will carry over men because you just I'm not going to go there, but that there are differences between women and men and white versus non-white. There are differences that you could then promulgate or put into the space of privilege. But it's again, people can question it, but what we ask, especially on this show, is for folks to, if you're questioning it, like do some research, do some digging. Don't just formulate an idea and just, because you believe it or because it makes sense in your mind that you just stick with that, or that, whatever you heard in media.
Yeah, you believe it.
Take that.
Then you go to your daily media that you always listen to and they confirm it. Now you're good to go.
Yeah,
right?
Like listen to other media sources that you maybe don't.
Yeah, I always say listen to the other side. Because just to see, you should try to get just 3 point of views.
Mind. Yeah, like just
you should try to get, like, I want to get the left view, the right view, and the middle view, so we can know what's in between. If you ultimately decide that you're still in the first idea you had is what you want to stick to, fine. But at least you explored. Yes, I would really love for people to continue to just challenge themselves and just explore. You know what you should do? You should know, why do other people think that way? Even what's the reason there? Yeah. Like if it doesn't exist, why do people think it exists? Even if it doesn't make sense to you, try to understand. Yeah, try to understand the why behind this. It's a little interesting not to. And the last point that they bring up is intersectionality. And I remember that's what got DeSantis mad about one of these courses that were being proposed to being taught in school, because it had a whole section on like gender theory and queer theory, and it didn't have that section, but he claimed that was part of it, and he's like, we don't want that taught in
even
school.
Though children need to understand about intersectionality of like race and gender homosexuality and sexual orientation and gender identification. Yeah. These are things we can't shy away from. We have to lean into it. And I understand it may be uncomfortable from a teaching perspective. It may be uncomfortable for parents or the students themselves. But at the end of the day, it's a reality that we're facing. People don't just come in one shape, size, orientation. We have different things going on. That's a scary thing. We need to better educate our children to have language, to understand. How can you talk through something if you don't even have the language? Like you know.
What they're hoping is that, that stuff will go away.
The identification,
all of it goes away. You don't have to think about it. People are going to continue to identify as they see fit. If you don't teach it in school, it won't exist anymore.
See how that's like censorship? I mean, that's like, then you can't, then we as a country could never come for other countries, because the country that I know, isn't that interesting? It's kind of like censorship. They always come for that country, and they always say, they censor. Well, are we not trying to do the same thing? If we refuse to give people language to discuss what's going on in their world, whether they relate to it or not, we have to have language to discuss something.
But that's the thing. I think people that are far right leaning, they're okay with censorship. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, but that's unhealthy. They like to censor stuff if it goes against their view. Let's just censor it. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why don't you just try to understand the perspective and allow people to live? So the problem with people being able to express themselves is that that's going to influence others to become exactly what the others are. Perspective to me is so wild. They're so weak-minded that just hearing the other point of view will change their view.
Allowing people to exist in their authentic truth is now going to convert everyone else into that identity or that perspective. It's an interesting thing. People have to live how they live, and to be
you should be able to hear about it. I mean, that's
you can't exist with others who have different perspectives as you.
So I think another, maybe not as far right, but maybe just right people might say that. Yeah. I mean, are they teaching this, or are they are they really trying to
persuade?
Are they being persuasive or convincing us that this is what it is? Because again, there's also people, we got to bring it up, that disagree. It's against their religion and stuff, right? For some of these
people that exist. They need to have.
So they'll say that you can't teach stuff that is anti my religious views.
Well,
in school
so I'm not sure about how religious exemptions would play into this critical race theory. However,
but this isn't being taught in K through 12 anyway. This is an optional course that's being taught at graduate level programs. So the thing is, you decide to do that.
Yeah,
right?
I would say that like if critical race theory were to be taught K through 12, you know, how do you balance
religious freedom and exemption?
I mean, if the course is optional and I would imagine that I forget how that works when kids sign up for courses.
If it's an AP course or something, or what would you make it? Like, would it be a college course that's offered at AP level? Well, you don't learn about it until
high school? Like, there's no conversation about
this? Well, not critical race theory, but I guess if you were talking about elements of it, which people think is being taught now, then, technically you could learn about some of the elements, but they would definitely not want that.
I mean, maybe if you have parental consent as well as, oh gosh. I mean, there has to be a way to plan into that. That's, you cannot just say, only people at 15 or 16 and above could address this. I think that is an injustice to our children. I think that they need to learn. Same thing with KJ. KJ is absolutely learning about racial inequity before the age of 16 or 18 years old.
He'll know about that.
As a person living a life of inequity, you have to learn about it. See, because the reality of this is Black and brown people live this in their lives. Like, we experience this. So that's why this is less theory and this is more reality for the people that's affecting. Yeah, and it's more theory for those who are trying to deny it or hide and shy.
It makes sense though, because if you don't live it every day, then it probably doesn't. It's not even real.
Theory for us. This is a life sentence.
Yeah, but for us, we live it. But just remember, come from the other point of view. They're not living it, so they might not necessarily think it's real.
Understand how hurtful that is to deny?
No, but guess what it is?
It's like in Being the Invisible Man, right?
But
like you're looking right at me and you're saying you don't.
No, they see you and guess what they tell you? They're like, work harder. That's what they say. Literally, I know it's best to work harder. You could get where I am.
I know. The American dream is available to everyone.
Yeah, it is. Come on, we all get the same start. Come on.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? You didn't have a tablet when you were just young? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We had all the resources.
Everyone has memberships to country clubs and private.
You did horseback riding, right? Wasn't that fun? How many water polo lessons have you taken?
We're diving into some privileged stereotypes right now.
No, but I'm just saying, work harder and you could be just where we are.
Exactly.
Your wealth of your community is low. That's because you guys don't work hard enough. That's what it is. Okay. It's not anything else.
You're getting out of control.
But I'm saying, I'm coming from the other point of view. Yeah. If I was sitting on the other side, I would look and I'd say, now, is there really systemic racism, or are those people not working as hard as they could? Are they selling illegal stuff?
That's an assessment or a statement that could be made without any type of empathy, without any type of understanding of the other side, right? So yeah, someone could say that.
And you know why you could say that too? It's because you could see these small instances where, yes, a Black person was doing something illegal and they went to jail for it. That doesn't mean the whole community is like that, though. Of course.
And also,
they see that and they make that a whole thing.
Not understanding how our criminal justice system works. And
that's a whole other thing, though.
When we get sentenced harsher on average, right? Like, there's all
I wonder if critical race theory deals with that. I didn't see anything. But, I mean, I didn't
it's within the inequity within our legal system, right? So
it must be, because it's talking about the laws and stuff. Yeah, technically, it talks about the laws and stuff. So, that would be in there. Like, the higher minimum sentencing.
Of course, yeah. Like the American Bar Association, the ABA, which has great resources. I definitely enjoyed using them when I was in law school. Shout out to New York Law School. Shared the following key principles that folks should know about critical race theory. So, acknowledgement again that racism is a normal feature of society and is embedded within systems and institutions like the legal system that replicate racial inequality, and this dismisses the idea that racist incidents are aberrations, but instead are manifestations of structural and systemic racism, meaning one-off situations can't keep happening without there being an understanding of saying, hey, there is a pattern of discrimination, a pattern of injustice here.
I mean, there's literally laws on the book that are discriminatory towards black
Of
people,
course.
and they won't even take the laws off the book because it's so hard to do it. You have to call like a certain amount of meetings, get all these people to join the session, but there's literally racist laws on the book as we exist today.
Of course. And then critical race theory also rejects claims of mediocrity or color blindness. CRT, or critical race theory, recognizes it is the systemic nature of racism that bears primary responsibility for reproducing racial inequality, and that also recognition of the relevance of people's everyday lives to scholarship. This includes embracing the lived experiences of people of color, including those preserved through storytelling, rejecting deficient, informed research that excludes the epistemologies of, I'm not sure if I said that right, of people of color. So, meaning that critical race theory is also about making sure that we're getting the perspective of the people who are living through the injustice and not like excluding their opportunity to share their stories or to have that storytelling be a part of the documentary assessment or analysis, which I thought was
That's part of it?
Yeah, that's according to
okay.
American Bar Association.
All right.
And also they talked about the fact that, yes, like they also reiterated that race is not biologically real, a social construct, recognizes that science, as demonstrated in the Human Genome Project, refutes the idea of biological racial difference, which is probably like mind-blowing for too many people to spend some thought around that. But yeah, it's like not a real thing.
What you brought up is a true thing too, is people think that. And that was, I saw a show about that asked, is America racist? And there's people that would say that America's definitely not racist. There's just a few racist people. So that doesn't count as America being racist.
Gosh.
And it's an interesting, viewpoint. But the problem is it doesn't take into account the systemic racism that we see.
And just to, again, reiterate to folks, systemic meaning it's more than one or two or three. It's ongoing, and no, not just from the civil rights era of America, but
we have to count from today. Yeah, you gotta look at today.
We're today, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Like the laws, the system of America was built with embedded philosophy and ideology that has discriminated and excluded Black people from the founding and the creation of America. And that, if that is contested, then you contest critical race theory. Yeah.
I mean, there was a big bank that, I'm not going to mention the name because I don't remember the exact charge they were hit with, but they were discriminating against black homeowners, and they just got like a class action suit, I think.
Fun.
Now they have to pay up because they were, I think, diminishing their property values or something to that nature. Yeah. So they got hit up. Right. It was only the black homeowner. They didn't get anybody else. It's something that, I mean, that's not going to surprise us, but some people might hear it and be like, oh, a few bad apples, right? Sometimes it happens, but that's a big institution. It was a big bank. It was a big one. I'm not going to say the name. You can look it up, but
it's like over
this thing is
and
happening.
Over
there's all these incidences,
again,
and it's
within
not
every aspect of our society, medical,
and
history,
then so the
legal,
thing is, it's not even a thing where you could say, well, if only the person was they weren't. There's nothing else they could do. They were just a black person, and they got affected.
Your black skin created havoc for you in your life.
Because that's the thing too. Because sometimes you see these situations and they're like, well, look how they acted. That's what you're gonna get when you act that. But
I know there's a lot of blaming and
the victim blaming
that happens in our society. Instead of trying to understand
there's a lot
the
of
actors' part in the injustice that they cause. I think that's such an interesting perspective.
It's the first thing you always do.
What did the victim do wrong? As opposed to saying, let me just look at the actor and their actions and then understand the impact before even jumping to that type of a conclusion.
But I think that has been developed over time, that notion of trying to blame the victim and what did this victim do? I think it's a media thing, actually, that instituted that, because they would report on stuff and then they want to go into the background of the person before even just looking at what was the crime
it's like
that
judge
took
and
place.
jury, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they did all this stuff. So I think that was media that's influenced. So now people just generally,
automatically, like,
let's
what
look
did
at the
they
victim.
do wrong? Yeah.
Did the victim do something wrong that made them be victimized?
It's very disheartening, and it's very challenging, because then it makes it seem like you have to prove, right? Like, the preponderance of evidence that you were not at issue, that like somehow you being black did not cause this issue. And it's like, like you did nothing, but okay, sure. Let me validate.
To flip the coin on that, there are people that always that try to say everything is race, but it's not. And that's so they took a 3-point shot, they missed. They said that's racist. I mean, you're shooting the ball at the hoop.
That's not what critical race theory is about. It's not just saying everything blanket statement is racist. What we're saying is
like
that there's systemic racism within our society. America is founded on this and continues to have this negative impact. But not everything. Yeah, like if
they don't blanket everything.
A black
racism.
person goes to order ice cream and the person attending to them gives them the wrong flavor. That in and of itself is not necessarily racist. Now, if there is a pattern of black people keep going to that store and asking to be served, and they refuse to serve only the black people, now we have a little bit of a different type of conversation to be had.
Would this be a microaggression though? If I go to order a sundae and I always order a vanilla and they always give me a chocolate sundae, is that a microaggression?
Are you asking me a real question?
I'm saying a black person goes to order a sundae, they want a vanilla one.
I can't even
respond
always get
with what I want
to respond with too, because that in of itself is not an appropriate statement.
I'm just thinking that seems like it could be a microaggression. And then the white person comes in,
and they always get butter pecan.
they try to order the chocolate, but they always get they get strawberry.
So maybe that person serving ice cream is just in the wrong industry. Maybe that's what that says.
Okay, it's not a microaggression.
Not to date.
Okay, not to date. That's good to do. It's important. You laugh at people might not be so sure what the microaggressions are. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time. Scenario 1. Combe is a white man who wants to prove systemic racism in America is non-existent. He decided to get his home appraised twice. First, he left pictures of his family around the house. The second time, he put pictures of his black best friend's family around the house and removed any trace of his own family. The appraisal came back lower the second time when the house had the black pictures up. Does this disprove that systemic racism exists?
That's a really interesting way of asking the question. Okay. So I think this is hinting to a current day thing that I saw in the news around a black family, it being identified that, and I think that's not the first time I've heard that
it's happened
when we sometimes when we, certain lenders or whatever, appraise homes for us at a lower rate than or lower price than our white counterparts. So does this disprove the systemic racism? I think this is, again, one incident, but this is not an incident that could go without showing or being connected to a pattern that's potentially happening. But in and of itself, I think it's not enough to say that systemic racism doesn't exist. I think you'd want more details to be able to definitively say this is proof, but it is an indication that there's an issue happening in the appraisal itself, and that the imagery of the family taken into consideration here had an impact on the type of appraisal that was made. So that's an issue.
Yeah, this doesn't really deal with the systemic racism. That's the thing. It kind of deals with the issue of racism in general. That some of these appraisers, they'll appraise a home for lower value just because it's a black family. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason they're doing that, I couldn't tell you the exact reason, right? I don't know. It's I guess that's an ongoing
less equity.
Discussion.
They don't want the home to sell for more. And
why do they care though? How does it affect them?
Well, are they they're raised, for instance, that they don't believe that black people should make as much money as white people in this country, where some people do hold that belief system that they need to work harder. They're given enough. They don't need extra help.
Or maybe, I mean,
could
you
be
think
that,
it's,
or
you
they
think
could
it's
say that,
or is it an implicit bias?
Maybe
It's kind
people
of
might
like,
not want to buy as.
What if they think of it's like a black home?
Sell, yeah, exactly.
They're like, this is a black home,
so it's a
not
cheaper
worth
home.
as
It's
much.
it's worth less. There's less equity attached to our name. There's
Maybe
dollar
it's
value.
that. I can't see them saying, you know what, we're going to keep them. Well, but that's interesting.
It could go multiple ways.
It could do that, but that's really nefarious. But I mean, it could be that. Like, I can't even take that away. That's really nefarious, though, to say that.
Harm.
Because that, I mean, man, to still be doing that in this day, to say that I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that they don't get as much equity as they could, like that's nefarious. I mean, it could be there.
The KKK is still around, so I mean, like,
imagine if they're a part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be
a Klansman,
the unhooded clans guys. I guess so. It is it's a messed up thing. That would be a community
that would actively try to.
You're right. Yeah, they're going to actively try to bring the.
Now, do I think all things like that come from that space? Not necessarily, but it probably is more the latter that we talked to around the idea that, like, people could view this as a black home. Black homes are going to sell for less, so why would I appraise this for something that's not going to really attach in the same way that people
they don't see
that?
Because they said, all right, no one's really going to see this as so much value because
this is a black home, so it must be a ghetto neighborhood.
Yeah, they probably make assumptions that if there's a black person there, maybe this is not worth as much. So it could be that. Yeah, I mean, that's that. Scenario 2. Patsy heard her children talking amongst themselves about their day at school. One of them mentioned people of color are suppressed by certain laws. Do you think Patsy should tell everyone at the next town hall that the elementary school is teaching critical race theory?
No, I think Patsy should have a conversation with her children since she heard the phrase people of color. I'm quite interested to understand what was the frame of reference. That phrasing, is this a 5-year-old? People of color. Yeah. I'm sorry, what are you suggesting?
It's a thing.
So I'm curious to understand the age group of the child
saying
this
that's
phrase.
A good point.
But I think automatically, before we start reporting and getting down to sharing things at town halls, let's do a little bit more investigation and understanding with the child themselves. And also applaud that child for understanding the inequities happening.
Applaud them.
Inequities happening in our society
for
people of color.
Nice.
This obviously child is planning on being a WokeNFree individual.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Shout out to this fictional child.
Okay.
And then upon more investigation and understanding, again, do I think it's an appropriate thing to start reporting things at town halls? Probably not. I think it's better to have conversations with parties involved in situations as opposed to
go to the school itself and
talk to the teachers,
superintendent.
Well, I mean, if it needs to go all the way up to superintendent, it depends on what the conversation, how it escalates. But
start with the teacher.
Start with the teacher. Start with your child. Then start with the teacher, and then potentially their supervisor, and work your way up before starting to share things out to other families and parents, and because you can make things get escalated really quickly, and you want to make sure that if you do that it's an appropriate measure that's being used there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is a little escalation to go right to the town hall, and you don't even know what's going on here. I mean, what if they learned about this from their friends? So I would talk to your child first and get a firm understanding of where this information came from. Like, you don't even know if it came from a lesson, right? So
yeah, exactly.
What if they were just looking at a YouTube video? I mean, it could be anything.
Watching or listening to WokeNFree. Yeah.
I mean, WokeNFree be calling people of color, so of course they must have been listening to us. Right?
I think we've said the phrase before. I don't think it's too. I mean, I don't know if that's our general jump to, but
we say people of distinction usually.
We
say different stuff
with royalty in their DNA for facts.
Melanin bright,
melanin rich.
Yeah, that's
gotcha. Yeah.
I guess, it could be indication of listening to WokeNFree. I just think, I think they might have taken some other stuff from it though, besides.
Oh yeah.
Besides that. Scenario 3. Rhea defines herself as a social justice warrior. She fights injustice day and night. Her next goal is to get critical race theory taught at every school level, starting with pre-K. Do you think it makes sense for everyone to be taught critical race theory?
Wow. That's incredible.
Which part?
The whole part.
Oh, okay.
All of it. Start to finish. I think that Rhea is admirable in her journey for fighting injustice day and night. I hope she wears a cape while doing this.
She could while sitting at her,
exactly.
Her computer right in front of it.
Facts.
Yep.
So I would say, pre-K, so we're talking about that, like, what is that, 4 to 5, 3 to 5 type of age group?
Yeah.
So just starting to figure out reading. This is for children?
Look, see now, jump right into it.
It depends on the type of illustrations.
Oh, there you go, illustrations.
And,
that can help.
The type of story format.
The AI can help them with that, right?
1,000%. We're going to copy AI this, John, and we're going to really make sure that this is age appropriate.
Yeah,
but.
Let the algorithm
Is there a space for young children to understand inequity in our society? Of course, because like I said, Black children are living that's their truth. Whether I want KJ to understand that the world will grow up and some people will actually actively hate him, of course I don't want to teach him that, but that's a reality of his life, whether I want that or not. It's a reality for black and brown children to understand that you live in a world designed where people and institutions are actively trying to not help you. So I'm not quite sure why Black children need to grow up knowing about limitation and knowing about challenges that they face, and somehow other children are not exposed to that. To me, if you help other children understand inequity, then that builds empathy for the communities that are impacted by this. So to be honest, it might sound preposterous to say someone who's just starting to learn how to read is somehow going to understand about systemic racism. I think that there is a way to present it that is child-friendly, that is age-appropriate, but I think it's preposterous to say we can't even broach the subject when that child will go into this world. I was called the N-word at the age of 6. I didn't even know I was Black. That was my introduction to Blackness in this country. Had someone had a conversation around Blackness with me, maybe I wouldn't have been so traumatized by that. So actually, I'm not mad at it. We have to do it in a way that, again, is child friendly. But those Black children in pre-K are absolutely gonna be made well aware of their Blackness and what people think about it, the good and the bad of that.
Okay. So your answer is teach it to them?
Yeah, I teach it to them, but it needs to be age appropriate. We're not going to come in and, show hanging people off a tree, right? Like you gotta, it has to be appropriate for that age group, but we've got to get people to learn about the world that they're living in.
So there should be like a redlining cartoon or something where they show that.
Snap.
And there's like a dancing
Here
state
we go.
or something.
Dancing. Yep. Shook and jive.
No, I'm just thinking of like Schoolhouse Rock.
Too,
no,
right?
you're thinking from the wrong view. I'm thinking from like Schoolhouse Rock.
Bamboozled, you think?
See, you're thinking of trying to do offensive stuff, but I'm thinking about like Schoolhouse Rock, how they did stuff. They had cartoons dancing. Because I'm just a bill. A little.
So of course
bill.
dancing has to be involved.
I think they had that in Schoolhouse Rock. It's not.
I don't know.
It's nothing to do with color.
Watched it, so.
I think you have, but you just forgot. I'll show it to you. You've
Please
seen
don't.
it. It's a way. It's a way to teach about the government to young kids. So I'm thinking that you do that here too. Right?
So we show a state and we show red lines.
Yeah, and you show it.
That's
and
not
then it
creepy
cries
at all.
red tears. The state.
Wow, yeah. So we're gonna go like with a kind of a Pennywise type of rendition.
Yeah, you could make the state in the shape of Pennywise's face. So this is what the states really look like.
This is what they used to
This
look
is what
like.
the world really looks like.
Yeah, you could tell them. This is what the states used to look like.
Sick aliens.
With nice sharp teeth, yes.
1,000%.
You could, I mean, it's a way to teach it, I guess, and you know that. Then you'll know, this is bad stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
The kids they'll be terrified of it, and they'll never let it happen again.
Yeah, racism is bad, Bobby.
Yeah, see,
I know that's right.
I mean, it will teach them that, I guess. I mean, for me, I don't think the critical race theory as it is should be taught starting at pre-K. I think that's too early to me. Because I don't know, it seems too heavy to me.
Even if you like kind of mull it down a little bit for the child's age group and stuff, you don't think there's any value in at least talking about inequity? No, you can talk about inequity, but I don't know, the way that it's taught in, I think you got to be at at that level. It's kind of like if you start teaching, I don't know, calculus 3 to kids who don't know how to do long division. I mean, it just seems pointless. Or I think their head kind of. Yeah, I think you got to start small and build your way up to it. I don't think you can just jump right into this. Otherwise, they could just ignore it too. It could just be it could just be too big. I hear you. They could just see it as adult stuff, and it's not even worth it. I don't know if it makes sense. I said, what I would do is I would say dropping the seeds of understanding difference. And that there's difference amongst colors, there's difference around gender, there's difference around sexual orientation, all of that stuff. Again, they're children who grow up who are 4 who say that they know that they are misgendered by society, right? And we cannot deny people's abilities to identify themselves. We can't. I know that that's a controversial. That's a different topic. But you're talking a different topic right now. Facts. Facts. But what I'm saying is, I think we have to start to open up our eyes and understand that children are really exposed to a lot, and children are faced with a lot, and we have to have language. I mean, that's my biggest thing. You can't discuss something when you don't have words for it. So, does it have to be critical race theory, or does it have to be maybe just understanding? Because the hard part about it is disparity. I mean, maybe that's the more appropriate concept. Because I think a lot of people would agree, even though you could stand on both sides, it would be nice to eliminate this idea of race, right? But that's not where we are today. No, not that we're there, but it would be good to, because people even think it's not a true statement, but hey, maybe if we don't talk about it, it goes away on its own. Sure. So people think like Pennywise, yeah. But even that could be a children's book in itself. There's some people that are black, there's some people that are white, there's some people that are Asian, and then at the end you say, but then you could say, but what if we go beyond this? What if we just say we're human, and it shows human, and you could even help drop the seeds in their heads around human being, but it's almost like what's most important. That's a good part, but I think they're going to see throughout the book, black, white, they're going to think that's a real thing instead of saying that's not even a real thing. I mean, it's like if you show them trolls and goblins and then you say they don't exist in the end. They're like, yes, they do. You showed me this through the whole book. Trolls and goblins are real. Yeah, I'm so tired. See? He said, Harry Potter's real. I saw Hogwarts. Yeah, you can't talk about that. What if we just said they're living creatures? They're not going to care about that. Really they're like, a troll is a troll and a goblin is a goblin. You said it. Yeah, kids will know that. That's why I say to do it now is you got to be very careful how you plant things. Because I know race is fake. I would structure it as this fake thing is making people do bad stuff, But you proudly represent your fake blackness then. I mean, brother, that's what's so challenging about this society. It's like it's fake, but I'm proud to be black, right? I'm proud of that fake. So you know this? I'm proud of my wizarding house. I'm proud of my fake wizarding house that doesn't exist. It's just like that. It's exactly, so it's like that. So you're proudly slithering. I'm slithering, yeah. On the floor. Like the snake that I belong to. Oh, facts. Man. I'm glad that you know your identity. It's a sad world. Snakes they just slither on their bellies. Yeah, it's very sad. That's very sad, though. Yep. Shout out to Ravenclaw. Oh boy. My heart would be Gryffindor, but Yeah, see, so you can be proud of something you can be proud of magic, and it doesn't have to be real. You do magic every day when you use the bathroom. That's fine for you. What is wrong with you?
I'm just saying, you could call anything magical, and it doesn't exist.
See, that's why we still talk about it on the show. Okay, well,
we have to talk about
let's wrap it up. So ultimately, you say no, and
I think it's too early to teach it in pre-K. I mean,
interesting.
I would say, I mean, I know you don't like high school, but I would say you got to sprinkle.
Like, Jesus, that's such a long.
I would say
wait till someone's 14.
So you know what I'd want to start teaching is I'd actually go the opposite. I'd want to start teaching that race is fake. Like I would go against this whole thing. Like you know that thing they call race, it's fake, and they're using it to oppress you.
I wish people could see your eyes right now too.
They're using this fake thing to oppress you. Is that good?
Get your life together.
Yeah, you know, I might raise like I wouldn't want to, but they might be anarchists.
So you would have like, a shirt that would say race or wizard. You choose like.
That's good. You can't, but can you choose a realm too that you live in, that you belong to? You could belong to different realms, right? So that's the thing.
All of this is just fake nonsense.
It's a social contract. Why do we stop there?
Life, so people are going to just jump off bridges and keep
No, because you belong to a county, you belong to a town, you should have a realm.
Just foolishness.
If you're from the flying realm, I mean,
oh God,
yeah, that's where you belong
I'm so
to.
Tired of your foolishness.
You could be Asgardian. I don't know.
Oh God, help me.
There's different things. There's a lot of see how there's all these different constructs.
So that's where we're ending. We're saying you could have a race, or you could be Asgardian. So pick your. I mean, dealer's choice, guys. Dealer's choice.
But I mean, one is cooler than the other, right? I don't know.
Which is. We will,
I should have to say
leave that for the audience.
Yeah,
which
they
is
can
cooler
decide.
in that scenario. You are a mess.
It's an interesting discussion when you think about it, right?
We are at that time again. Thank God. It is coming to the end of our 289th episode of WokeNFree. Quite the episode discussing what is critical race theory about. Khalil, what do folks need to do now?
Come back next week for the new WokeNFree Wednesday episode. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along with the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, we definitely are taking considerations. Please share your story on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. On social, again, you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at WokenFree. And all sponsorship and collaboration queries should be directed to our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokenFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokenFree is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.